Do you suffer from debilitating migraines? You know, that throbbing pain in the front or side of your head that's so severe you're unable to work or do anything other than retreat into a dark and quiet room? Have you had them for years and just haven't found a solution? Call Dr. Elizabeth Ebersol and put an end to your debilitating migraines forever. Or go to her website at www.handmadehealth.com. That's www.handmadehealth.com.
Hello, everybody. It's Balls to the Wall, episode number 48. I'm your host, Kenny Matthews, and my sidekick, my dear friend, Mr. Billy Martin Jr. How the heck are you doing, buddy?
It's the best time of year. Got the World Series, NFL, NBA, NHL, sports time.
College football, too. I mean, wow. It's a beautiful time. It's World Series time. You and I are both baseball nuts. We love it. We had to take a little hiatus, a little life on life's terms there. So we appreciate you guys coming back to us. We'll try to come to you guys on a weekly format for about 20 minutes or so. Keep it light. We're going to try to have some foul stuff a little bit. You know, we'll have our, nuts and bolts always is the sports side of things. But Billy, wow. You and I both say it's always fun to see game sevens. And you don't like your team to be in it unless they're down 3-2. We had back-to-back game sevens in the AL and the NLDS, and boy, great drama. Why don't we start in the National League with obviously the surprise team to come out of the National League is they limped coming into the playoffs. They sweep the vaunted, the dreaded, the beautiful-looking regular season LA Dodgers that put up great numbers every year. And you say, is this going to be the year that they're going to kind of stack on those trophies? And then they do what I deemed a lot of people about 4 days ago seemed to be impossible, to win 2 games in Philadelphia to advance to their second World Series. Billy, what are your initial thoughts on that? I hope you were as shocked as I was.
Well, first of all, think if we had walked into a casino during spring training and bet Rangers Diamondbacks in the World Series, what would that $100 have paid us? I'm going to guess it's close to a 6-figure number because, wow. I mean, what if you did it on a 4-game parlay and said, okay, add the Marlins and Orioles to that list of going to the playoffs? What a great year. And I'll tell you what, I was shocked. The Phillies have superstars on that team.
Yes.
And those Philly fans are so nice and easy to play in front of. They're always cheering for the other team. But wow, I was shocked. Living here in Arlington, Texas, I'm not supposed to be a fan as a professional in the game, of course, but I am cheering for the Rangers. They need a World Series championship, and I think they're going to have a lot better shot against the Diamondbacks than they would have against a star-studded cast like the Phillies.
Yeah, the Phillies, their front three and the pitching staff, I thought would have chosen a lot of problems for the Rangers. Especially with the Rangers having, let's just say this to be light, a question mark at the third starter right now. And at the 4th spot in a 7-game series. I was really stunned because what that home field advantage had been for the Phillies in the playoffs so far to this point, for them to only score 3 runs in 18 innings, in that barnyard, to me was the biggest surprise. Was that, you have to have great pitching. You and I both know that. And I mean, the Diamondbacks, give tips to them. Major props to them. They went in and shut down that lineup that, had been badgering the Braves, getting into, They badgered the Diamondbacks in the first 2 games of that, at that yard. So, I know a lot of people says, well, this is not a fun World Series because it's Arizona and it's the Rangers. This is the first time in 7 years that it's not the Dodgers, the Houston Astros in the World Series. I mean, that's just crazy to me even to think about it. It's been that long that we've had one of those 2 teams in it. I'm just happy the fact that these teams were built differently. They built through their draft. The Arizona Hazen did a great job of building through the draft, cherry picking his moves all the way through there. And the Rangers, they opened up the big textbooks. They went out and got some pitching, got some positional players 2 years ago, and then they went and spent some more money on some pitching. And so now we can get rid of maybe the analytics side of all this because one bought it and the other one went through the draft and personnel decisions and did it that way. And so we actually can have just a World Series, especially since Bochy's on the Rangers side. We're not going to get terribly analytic. And it looks like Lovello looks like he is kind of using a little bit of the analytics, taking out the picture the other day. I thought, why? He's 12 in a row, nailing them down. Why? Got lucky and got saved by it. It's like, just watch the game. But I'm really, I really was intrigued about the guts that they showed the Diamondbacks. And then if you're Philadelphia, and I don't want to take too much time here, though. If you're Philadelphia, you got to feel like you blew an opportunity here. When you got veterans like that on your team, you only get so many shots at it to get to that championship of the World Series. And you're losing one. You don't know if you're going to have Nola back next year. So if you don't have him, that's a huge void in your pitching staff. And then you're asking veterans to go through the whole season again, injury-free, to get to this point. It's very hard to do. So you got to take advantage of these situations. No Braves, no Dodgers. That's where the Phillies needed to be in the World Series. This was the year that they needed to be there. Didn't happen. Lavello's boy. They're coming to Arlington. Well, I guess they're already here.
I tell you, it's what I love about baseball because to me, one guy can make such a difference on a team. A guy you're not counting on, an 8-hole hitter, a relief pitcher that just comes in and is either amazing or terrible, and it can totally change the outcome of the game. And I didn't think Arizona had a chance against them. I thought they were too young. I thought they were too dumb. But sometimes young and dumb helps when you're in those big games.
If they play old school baseball, they play like your dad wants to play. They manufacture runs. They put things in action. They're moving around on the base pass. They play solid defense. They don't need the bomb to score. Philadelphia needed the bomb to score. Don't hit bombs in game 6 and game 7. You're getting your nice sports utility and you go home. It's just the way it is now. And I think you made a great point. We had 3 100-game winners not get out of the first round this year. That's crazy to me to think. That's like having 2 number 1 seeds and a 2nd seed in the NFL not win a playoff game. It just doesn't happen, But baseball is the only sport that it can happen in, it seems like.
One of the crazier stats I heard. So when the Rangers beat Baltimore and swept them in that series, well, turns out Baltimore didn't get swept in a single series this whole season. And lo and behold, gets swept in the postseason. And the last time that happened in Major League Baseball, well, that was the San Diego Padres. And guess who their manager was? That would be Bruce Bochy, the Rangers manager. So go figure how backwards that statistic is.
Well, briefly, let's talk a little bit about the Rangers and Astros series. And the reason I want to bring this point up is this. Props to that Astro team. I told somebody before, you have to put a stake through their heart multiple times. They just won't go away. They are an epitome of what a champion's built on. Just when you're counting them out, that heart of the champion thing. They came into Arlington Stadium last week, dude, and blew the doors off of that place. Down 2-0, coming in. Had all the momentum in the world, but their problem is they were 40-47 at home this year. The Houston Astros could not put up crooked numbers at home this year. That's mind-boggling when you look at that lineup to me, Billy.
No, it's absolutely mind-boggling. And kudos to their general manager, Dana Brown, who doesn't get any credit, because think about it, he steps in as GM after they win the World Series, so he had nowhere to go but down, and he was literally a couple outs from being right back where they were last year.
I don't even know if they had actually washed their champagne-drenched jerseys yet before he took the job last year, dude. I mean, that was quick turnaround, dude. It's like, did you just have a parade? It's crazy.
Absolutely. And kudos to the great Dusty Baker.
Absolutely.
Inventor of the high five. The only manager in baseball history to take 5 teams to the postseason. Only 3 have taken 4 teams to the postseason. That's Dusty, my father, and Hall of Famer Tony La Russa. So we know where Dusty's headed, and it saddened me a little bit to see him retire, because I know there's more in there, and I love seeing the 2 oldest managers in the game going at it for the championship, because maybe everybody else needs to step back and settle down a little bit on this analytic stuff and let old baseball minds take over.
The guy from UCLA on his Schrin mic does not need to dictate what the game is before the game is played. Period. That's what I would love to see. You had Dusty sitting on his ass. You had Bochy sitting on his ass for multiple years. Nobody's barking on their door. And then you had both of them leading their team. Dusty obviously already won one last year. Here he is again. And he took over a mess at Astroland on Trashgate. I mean, he took over a mess and got that team focused, where they went to 4 LDSs, dude. 2 World Series in 4 years. I'm like, yes, he can skip a little bit. He can skip just a little bit. Well, and I'm glad he gets to see his son play a little bit. I know that was one thing he said in his press conference today, that he wanted to see his son play. And he says, now we won't get any more free meals on Dusty. But he's a grown man now. But yeah, I just really want to say, I mean, I don't want this to be an Astro love fest, but you guys, what they've done in this 7-year period is remarkable. I mean, especially in this day and age, you've lost a Correa, you lost a Springer, you lost a Verlander. I know he came back. You lost some high-end talent. You just seem like to plug in another guy, Tucker, plug in a Pena. You plugged in, Valdez. I mean, you that farm system, which you have always alluded to, Billy. I have to give you props. Since you talked about this farm system a long time ago, about how it keeps producing people from the international side, through the draft, the whole shooting match. And man, there's not many organizations that are run better than the Houston Astros right now.
No, they're not. And I got to throw props to a guy who doesn't get much credit for what he did. And part of that's because he's a little pompous. He was a little proud of himself. But Jeff Luhnow took over the Houston Astros when they had been destroyed by probably the worst GM in baseball history, a guy named Tim Papura. And Luhnow set all this up and really doesn't get credit for it. And because of the whole trash can lid banging BS, is still without a job in the game. And I'm sorry. other than what you and I just watched Chris Young do in Texas, and let's see how it manifests over the next half decade plus. That's one of the best jobs I've seen in basketball history.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations. We're going to get back to the Diamondbacks and the Rangers here in a moment here. But man, it was a great series to watch. Obviously, thrilling as all can get up. Minus the 2019 World Series when no home team wins. It's just crazy. Can you imagine the Astros are part of both of those now? It's really weird to think about that. But another thing we want to say, we do want to do some lighthearted topics from time to time. And Billy, I want to talk about Taylor Swift. And I know it's a phenomenon. I know TMZ is on it all day. And I know that the cameras and all this. And I'm going to come out with a statement here that will probably surprise a whole lot of people. I don't have a problem. I really don't. I don't have a problem. I said more eyes to the TV sets makes the game better for me from a standpoint that maybe YouTube TV won't go up on my price next year because we're getting so many more people. But I said it brings different people to the game. My only problem that I do have with Taylor Swift is I don't need to see her after every play. I don't. I think she's getting a little too much. I mean, she gets plenty of airtime on her tours, her movie. I mean, she's got everything. She doesn't need additional TV time. But I don't understand the fear of why so many people are upset about it. I don't know. I mean, maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm getting soft because my daughter likes Taylor Swift. Yeah, I don't know.
It's not. It's a diversion that for some reason really aggravates people. I mean, look at it from this standpoint. If you're a Travis Kelce fan at all, and name 5 better tight ends than that guy. But his jersey sales have gone up 400%. 400, not 440 or 400. That is insane, and good for him and good for them, because I also am a booking agent and book musical talent.
Right.
And Taylor Swift's on your absolute upper echelon of booking. I mean, like, to put it in the country music vein or even mix it up, for what it costs to book Taylor Swift, you could book George Strait, Willie Nelson. You could add Bruce Springsteen and Sting. And she'd still cost a little bit more than that 5-some. Okay? Because she fills up everywhere she goes. And that's not luck. That's not because she's pretty.
It's not a single event. It's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's sold out, buddy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. It's not playing in Reunion Arena.
It is.
Here in downtown Dallas, dude. It's
not big enough.
No, it's not big enough. And another thing, I mean, Kelsey's podcast, the #1 viewed podcast now. I mean, I just want some of that gravy to spill over on us, on the podcast side, dude. That's all. But I mean, it's crazy. I mean, I just talked to some of my guys at the gym, and they're just so bent out of it. I said, well, you don't have to be all Neanderthal about it. I mean, if the Frau wants to watch the game, and you want to watch the game, and you're in peace, isn't that a good thing that she doesn't want you cutting the yard during the Kansas City game? And I was like, her wife is allowing you to watch the game in peace now because she's watching it. I just don't have a big deal. Now, I do think that one of the backlashes she's getting is Miss Mahomes. Miss Mahomes is a lightning rod for people. For whatever reason, she's a lightning rod. So I think that there is some kickback for that because of how they're getting along and having a good time. I think that has something to do with it. But let her have peace. I mean, if she breaks up with Kelsey one day, we'll have a great song. I mean, so it doesn't matter to
Absolutely.
me.
Absolutely. And it brings different eyeballs to the game. And
And that's
as
good.
sports fans, that's what we should want. Absolutely, right? Because, you know, it the sport, every sport is always changing, and this is a good thing.
I think it's a great thing. So Taylor, keep coming to Chief Games. That's fine. Just have a good time. There's nothing wrong with that. Have an Adele cocktail with Mrs. Kelsey. Enjoy yourself. I mean, I'm not a big Swift fan. I know my daughter is, but I have zero problem with it. I'm a sports nut. Guy, I don't care. Okay. I just don't. It's not a big deal. Enjoy.
Well, my godson, he, he thought it was awkward. He's just a little guy, and he said, Taylor Swift. He goes, is that the guy that hems your pants faster than everybody else? He said, no.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Thank you very much.
We'll wrap it up here with a couple of World Series predictions, a couple of little talk about in the World Series here. I know you and I talked a little off camera. Maybe the network might not appreciate having the Texas Rangers and the Arizona Diamondbacks in the World Series because the East Coast is left out. And it's not, the West Coast kind of included, but it's not LA, it's not San Francisco, so it's not a huge market. Not a lot of people know the players on Arizona. Probably didn't. A lot of people didn't know who the Ranger players were until this playoffs coming in here, to be frank. But I do like the fact that we have Lovello, who, if I'm correct, wasn't he with the Cubs when they won it in 2015? If I'm thinking right,
I believe you are correct.
I think so. I'm thinking if you're Lovello, dude, listen to this scenario. You win a World Series in Chicago that took for a million years. If you win one now with the Arizona Diamondbacks, what are the odds of that, in those two different places? I mean, that's a tremendous story. I mean, it really, really is. I mean, a lot of us just didn't give Diamondbacks enough credit, obviously. I know a lot of us Ranger fans 6 days ago had written off the Rangers after Altuve went on for tank in Game 5 against the Rangers. But I mean, the moxie of those two guys to go on the road and win 6 and 7 in elimination games tells there's a lot of fighting the dog with these two teams.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more on every front. I mean, two teams that lost 100 games a year ago are about to go at it in the World Series, and they both look and did it so well. The teams they beat,
they earned it. They earned it.
My World Series was the Dodgers and Astros, and they set them both down. And I think it's great for the game. Like you said, I know the networks disagree, but I think all you can do as a GM team is get them to the postseason, and then what happens, and that's up to your management. That's up to your coaching staff and your team to step up.
And I think you got to think about the way the Diamondbacks did. I mean, they have a tight budget. For them to orchestrate their, getting the, the closer, God, if his name, Oswald from Seattle. I mean, that's a great move. Yeah, I mean, Seawald. Yeah. That's a great move that, was under the radar. We weren't really talking about that at the time in July, about that move. But, have that kind of balance where, you have to juggle your lineup amongst your budget. And especially since, they weren't drawn very well, you can't say, well, if we get this guy's going to give us a bump here at the gate. It still takes time for that to kind of build up a little bit. But I'm really intrigued by it is that You have LaBello's first World Series, and you got the old grizzled vet in Bochy, who has been fishing for the last 1,013 days until Chris Young gives him a call last November and says, "Hey, you got a hold of that fishing boat? Oh, you do? Well, why don't you come down to Arlington and saddle it back up again?" I mean, what a swift move that was. And I'm thinking what Bochy does and what Dusty does is instant respect. It doesn't matter the generation. It's just instant respect as soon as he sits down in there. Kind of like reminds me of Leland a little bit. You're not going to dispute what he says. I think your sound went down. I think the audio went down. Yeah. Hey, Billy, I can't hear you. Can't hear you. I think your audio. Your audio went down. Let me see. Can't hear you. I don't know why. Ask to unmute. Ask to unmute. Let's see if that goes. Still can't hear you. Hello? Still can't hear you. Well, why don't I do this, Billy? Why don't we do this? I'll wrap it up, but I know we were kind of getting to the end anyway here. Obviously, we're having a little technical difficulty here with Billy's mic here, but I think that what we both kind of were talking about is it really is going to be a nice contrast of styles here. The Diamondbacks are able to manufacture runs, which is really good. And the Rangers got a little pop in their lineup. But anyhow, we will get these quirks picked out for next week. We don't know exactly what happened here. But anyway, tune into the Great World Series. It's coming up. We will be back next week. We'll talk about the first 2 or 3 or 4 games of the series. And enjoy your great sports weekend because we know it's a great time with all the sports involved. So, again, Kenny Matthews, Billy Martin Jr., and we're out.